Thomas Mitchell, a billionaire with more money than he could ever spend, sat in his leather chair pretending to sleep. His eyes were half open, his breath steady, but inside, his heart was heavy. He had left the massive safe in his office wide open, stacks of $100 bills piled so high it almost looked unreal. Why? Because he wanted to test someone. Not his business partners, not his board members, not his lawyers. He wanted to test the cleaning lady's little daughter, 6-year-old Jasmine. See, Thomas had been betrayed before. A close business partner had stolen millions from him, and ever since then, he struggled to believe that anyone in the world could still be honest. Everyone, he thought, had a price. So tonight, the test began. Diana, the cleaning lady, walked in quietly, like she always did, holding her daughter's hand. Jasmine wore tiny pink gloves. Her mom had bought them just so the girl could feel useful while helping out during school holidays. She skipped in, innocent, playful, with no idea what kind of trap had been set right in front of her. Thomas kept perfectly still. His safe was wide open, money practically calling out to be touched. Jasmine's eyes lit up. A mountain of cash, more money than she had ever seen in her entire life. Her tiny steps carried her closer. Thomas felt his chest tighten. This was it. Another disappointment, he thought. Another proof that no one in this world could resist temptation. But what she did next completely froze him. Instead of grabbing the money, Jasmine carefully leaned in, frowned a little, and whispered, "Mommy, Mr. Thomas's money is all messy." And with her little gloved hands, she began fixing it, sorting the bills by size, stacking them neatly, treating them almost like something sacred. Diana turned around, startled. "Jasmine, you can't touch the boss's things." But Jasmine just smiled softly. "It was messy, Mom. He'll be happy when he wakes up and sees it tidy." Thomas swallowed hard. His throat burned. This child, who probably never even held more than $20 in her life, didn't take a single bill. She just wanted to help, to make it look nice. And in that tiny moment, Thomas realized maybe he had been wrong. Maybe not everyone was driven by greed. Maybe honesty still existed. He had no idea that this one small act from a 6-year-old girl would change everything, not just for him, but for people he thought he understood and didn't. Over the next weeks, Thomas began paying more attention to Diana and Jasmine. He noticed things he had never cared to see before. Diana worked 2 jobs, cleaning at night in Thomas's office and cleaning at a doctor's office in the mornings. Jasmine tagged along, always quiet, always obedient, sometimes doing homework in the corner while her mother scrubbed floors. And what really struck Thomas wasn't the hardship, it was the dignity. Diana never complained. She never asked for favors. She never even once hinted at needing help. Instead, she kept teaching her daughter lessons like, "We always return what doesn't belong to us, even if no one is watching. Honesty is worth more than money." For Thomas, who had seen people with billions still lying and stealing, these words hit like thunder. So he quietly raised her salary. No big announcement. He just made sure the payroll system showed it as a category adjustment, a secret gift of gratitude. But unfortunately, someone else noticed. Richard Blackwood, Vice President of Operations, a man born into privilege, carrying the arrogance of someone who had never worked a day in his life. He cornered Thomas during a meeting, sneering, "Why are we wasting extra money on cleaning staff, especially that one, Diana?" Thomas kept calm, but Richard smirked and added, "Thomas, you have to understand where these people belong. You give them an inch, they'll take the whole vault." Those words cut deep. These people. That night, Thomas's respect turned to rage. Because Richard didn't just see Diana as an employee, he saw her as less than human,
And worse, later that same week, Thomas caught Richard confronting Diana in the hallway. "I know you're getting paid more than you deserve," he hissed. "I don't know what favors you're doing, but it's going to stop. And get that child out of here. This is not a daycare." Diana stood frozen, Jasmine hiding behind her, terrified. But she gathered her courage and said softly, "Sir, I'm just doing my job." Richard leaned in closer, spitting out the words, "Your job is to clean and be invisible." Thomas heard everything. His cameras recorded it all. And for the first time in years, Thomas felt something he thought he had lost forever: pure, righteous anger. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about justice. What Richard didn't know was that Thomas wasn't just rich, he was clever. He had resources, connections, and now he had a mission. He called in an old friend, a former FBI investigator. They began digging into Richard's past, and what they uncovered was disgusting. Years of harassment, racist comments, multiple lawsuits that his daddy's money had buried, a long trail of broken lives left behind him. But this time, he had picked the wrong family. Because Thomas wasn't just going to protect Diana and Jasmine, he was going to destroy Richard's mask, tear it off in front of the entire world. And when Richard finally tried his most evil plan, planting stolen items in Diana's cleaning cart to frame her for theft, he thought he had won. But instead, he walked straight into Thomas's trap. Cameras rolling, journalists waiting, evidence stacked against him like a mountain. When Thomas finally confronted him with proof from every angle, Richard froze. His confidence melted into fear. The man who had once laughed at Diana now stood speechless, cornered, ruined. And in that moment, Thomas realized something Jasmine had already shown him. Money doesn't define a person. Character does. You know, sometimes life surprises you. A billionaire with everything money could buy learned honesty from a 6-year-old little girl who had nothing. And a powerful executive who thought he was untouchable lost everything because of his arrogance. It makes you think, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you own, how high your position is. If you don't have integrity, if you don't treat people right, sooner or later, the truth catches up. And sometimes, the smallest hands teach the biggest lessons.